we're here tonight is something that we'll be very satisfied with. Before I begin my discussion about the zoning and some other points regarding the project, I would just like for the members of our development team to just stand up and introduce themselves so that you'll know who I'm talking about during the course of the presentation. Can you please stand up first, Max, and just introduce yourself?
I'm Max Baldwin. I'm supervisor of State
Steve?
I'm Steve Wagner, Common Properties Company, State Vice President, Retail Leasing.
Robin?
Good evening, I'm Robin Alexander. I'm General Counsel of the Real Estate Group at Sears.
My name is Mike Lobby. I'm a real estate finance consultant. I represent
Eric Thome, Development Director with Continental Properties.
Thanks so much. So what I'd like to be able to do is just talk a little bit about the site, about the zoning, the procedure for how to get this zoning accomplished, and then also then turn it over to Steve from Consolidated, who will then go through the specific drawings and the process that they have that they're going to be following for developing the site. I think most all of you are well aware of the project that we're going to be talking about. This is on the northeast corner of Harlem and North Avenue. The slide that's up here shows that it's zoned B1-2. What we're proposing to do is to take that site, raise the existing, and take down the existing Sears store, and then put up two buildings and then an outlet. One of the buildings would be a Mariano store, which would be about 72,000 square feet. There would be a Sears store, which would be up to 50,000 square feet. And then in the corner of Harlem and North Avenue, there's like an outline there, it would be about 5,000 or 7,000 square feet. We, as I indicated, have spent a lot of time on this. This would, in order to accomplish this and develop this site, it would have to be done as a planned development. Planned developments in the city of Chicago are zoning procedures that you use when you've got a certain tract of land that is a larger than normal piece of land. Anything over 75,000 square feet that's going to be developed commercially must be required to be developed as a planned development. When you do a planned development, that means that you have to meet with certain departments of the city of Chicago in order to vet it with them, get their input before it ever becomes law and passed by the city council. In this case here, when you do a planned development, it has to go before the Chicago Plan Commission, and the Chicago Plan Commission is what we call a recommending body. They hear about the case, and then if they support it, they then enter an order recommending passage of it. They then recommend that to the zoning committee of the city council, and then the zoning committee is made up of all aldermen, like Alderman Graham, who then listen to it, and then if they support it, and if the alderman supports it, then it is recommended passage to the full city council, and then ultimately it goes before the full city council for passage. That's the procedure. Those three steps are what's required in order to get passage of a planned development. Planned developments are a tool that is used by the zoning department, as I said, to encompass large planned developments. But they're done, and the benefits are to the community. It's a great benefit because all of the things that ultimately will be part of this planned development, the way the buildings look, the fabric of the buildings, how they're going to look, the parking lot, the landscaping, all that, that all becomes part of the planned development. And when it's passed by the city council, all the graphics that include all of that information become part of that planned development. So that later on, when the developer goes to build the building, he comes in with his plans to the city, and those plans are then sent up to the 9th floor of the planning department, and they look and they compare the plans with what was approved in the planned development to make sure that what is being built is exactly what was shown to the community. And that's a commitment that we make, we will be making all the time to all of you and to everyone else, that what we are showing you is in fact what we will be doing. As I said, tonight though, you'll be seeing conceptual plans, but you'll have a general idea of where these buildings are going to be built, the size of the buildings, and what's going to be occurring, what uses will be occurring on those, in those areas. What I'd like to be able to do now is to have Steve come up and go through some of the slides explaining who the developer is, their experience in this area, and then go through the slides and have him point out to you where these buildings are going to be located. This site, this planned development, is going to be divided into two different sub-areas, A and B. A would be where the Sears store would be, and B would be where the Mariano store would be. And so he'll go through and explain that to you. And if you can just listen to the presentation first, and then let us get through it. And then if you have any questions, everybody on our team is here to answer those questions, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. And if for some reason we don't have the answer, we'll get you the answer. So I'd like now to have Steve come up and go through that with you. And again, thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thanks, Jack. Can everybody hear me back there?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Alderman Graham for arranging for us to have this meeting tonight. We really appreciate you coming out tonight to see our presentation. It's such a beautiful evening out there. I know it's important to you if you're willing to give up a nice evening like this to hear what we're talking about tonight. As both Alderman Graham and Jack mentioned, this is just the start. This is a concept project at this point. We've got a lot of work to do. We really want to get your input, so as Jack mentioned, at the end of this, we want to hear questions, but we also would like to hear any comments or feedback or any information that you think you want us to be aware of. We want to hear, because now's the part of the process where it's most helpful. Excuse me. Continental Properties Company was started in 1979. I'm one of the co-founders of Continental Properties. And we've been around for 35 years, developed in many states across the country. We've developed for all kinds of retailers, including Kohl's, Target, Costco, and one of our largest or most important customers is this company out of Milwaukee called Roundy's. And Roundy's, you know them as Mariano's because that's what they are in Chicago. We know them as Pick and Save in Milwaukee. And they're also known as Cops up in Green Bay and Appleton. And at one point they were in Minneapolis as Rainbow Foods. So we have a long history of development with Roundy's. And we're very excited to bring Mariano's to this location. As many of you know, Mariano's started about 4 to 5 years ago with the first store in Arlington Heights, and they've grown fairly rapidly, about 5 to 6 new stores per year until this year. As many of you know, they bought 11 Dominick's, and starting last fall, they've opened a new Mariano's about every 3 to 4 weeks this year. That's a big task. They've been very, very, very busy. But the program has been very successful. They've garnered a terrific market share and done a great job serving neighborhoods like this in other locations in Chicago. You can see from this map, all of the little M's that you see here are the stores that are either announced or open. And you can see there's quite a void in this area right here. And so this store is an important store for Mariano's because it will cover a geography in an area that's not otherwise covered for them. This is a market map showing all of the other retail within the region. It's clearly a retail-oriented neighborhood along North and along Harlem in different locations. And the next map shows what we call a trade area. Can you still hear me back there? The trade area map is important for any grocer or any retailer because it describes where they think their customers are going to come from to make the store successful. Typically a grocery store depends on people who are able to drive to within about 8 to 10 minutes approximately. And depending on traffic in Chicago, that's anywhere from 1 block to 2 miles, I guess is the best way to put it. And so we've arbitrarily drawn a 2-mile ring showing where we expect most of the customers to come from for this particular Mariano's. And as you can see, because we're at the corner of North and Harlem, we're right at the corner of the city of Chicago. And so you have obviously Oak Park, River Forest, and Elmwood Park on the other 3 corners. So there will be shoppers that will be coming from those neighborhoods as well as the neighborhood in Chicago. And it's critical we understand that because it's that type of customer that we can make this store very successful. As Jack pointed out before, this is a like an L-shaped site, as many of you are familiar. North Avenue here, Harlem Avenue going north-south. The B1-2 zoning, of course, is here. The Sears building, of course, is right on the hard corner. And then the parking lot over here. The site has a long history. Sears has been open here many, many, many years. I think it's 60 years. Did I see that? Been remodeled. Pardon me? I'm sorry. Sears has been here quite a while and has been remodeled many times over the past 30, 40, 50 years. We did take a hard look at trying to see if there was a way to salvage the existing building, but I can tell you it's got so many functional and physical obsolescence built into it at the current time, but there isn't a way to save the existing building and retail out of it successfully. So, skip ahead to the second.
Yeah. There you
There we go. So again, this is a concept project site plan. This is not anything, we've not submitted applications into the city of Chicago. We've not signed any agreements or development agreements with anyone. This is a concept plan. And as you can see, we've taken the opportunity to put a small building on the hard corner of Harlem and North. The Marianos would be the proposed retail B, 72,000 square feet. The Sears store would be the retail A, approximately 50,000 square feet. One thing that hasn't been touched on yet is the sequencing. It's important for many reasons. The existing Sears store needs to stay up where it is until the new store is built, obviously. So there will be a construction sequencing that will have new Sears store built, employees and operations moved over there. Mariano's store, we may be able to make some progress before it's done, but certainly at some point, this operation will be open and operating before the existing Sears store is torn down. A couple other important features. We have a heavy landscape feature around the entire perimeter. This obviously is a commercial area, commercial site, directly abutting residential neighbors. We have a long history of working with our residential neighbors in situations like this, and we will continue to do so. And so that you can see the landscape area on the east side, the north side. There will be landscaping, of course, along Harlem and also along North Avenue. Again, this is a concept of an exterior. This is not the proposed elevation for the new Mariano store at Harlem and North. This is a concept elevation that has been done elsewhere. It will have some features that will be similar to this. If any of you have been inside of Mariano's, it's clear they have a number of operations like a fresh bakery, fresh pizza oven, fresh florist, cheese, bakery, more florist, fresh meats, deli, butcher shop, sushi, thank you, and wine. So it's a wide variety of food and beverage opportunities here. Some of them are for takeout, like the vast majority of the store is for takeout, but there are some in-store restaurant type seating areas where you'll be able to sit down and have your pizza or have your salad or have your sandwich. Or your bottle of wine. The next thing I want to talk about briefly is there's a need for a TIF district here that would serve this particular project, but then also an extended area into the neighborhood to the east along North Avenue and to the north along Harlem Avenue. None of the discussions or boundaries or any of that stuff has taken place, so we're at the very conceptual stage on this part of it.
With further discussion on the TIF and its meetings, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Mike Lowry.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to just give you a little background on TIF before we get into what goes on the specific site. And there's a couple of key points about TIF. One is the city needs to make a couple of findings. One is, but for the TIF, this project wouldn't move forward because of the extraordinary cost on it, and that it's accretive to the neighborhood and to the plan in the neighborhood. The way TIF works is if I have a site that's paying $1 in taxes, and as a result of the development that wouldn't otherwise happen without the TIF, it goes up to $4. The $3 or the increment can be used to offset those extraordinary costs that inhibit the development. What we have here is we have an obsolete building on a site that has a lot of constraints to it. The building needs to be demolished. The basement needs to be filled in, and we have a lot of extraordinary costs that otherwise prohibit the plan that you saw from moving forward. So we're in discussions with the city right now about proposing an appropriate TIF deal, and some of the key features are it's to reimburse us for the extraordinary cost of demolition, environmental cleanup, and site preparation and site infrastructure. We're proposing it in such a way that it's what we call in our industry a pay-as-you-go TIF. So in other words, if we don't generate the value, we don't get paid. There's no risk on the city or on the community for anything else. What we're also talking about is a broader public benefit here in the discussions that are ongoing is to encompass our site, but our site would also be linked in with the commercial corridor going north potentially on Harlem Avenue and going east on North Avenue, so that the local businesses and the local community could also benefit from this. This development would certainly serve as an anchor and a catalyst for additional business, additional sales tax, additional jobs in those areas, and we're in the discussions with the alderman and the planning department over at the city to discuss what those boundaries could look like for the broader community benefit. We're not at a point yet where we can really say what that is, but the concept is to make it a broad area that benefits the entire community. What this will facilitate very quickly is a project with this type of high-end grocery store, and Mariana's is an excellent concept of having all the convenience items that you see and the staples behind it that are at very competitive prices. It'll provide a lot of job opportunities and increased job opportunities for residents of the city in the 29th Ward. It'll eliminate an obsolete building and a lot of the development constraints. And some of the biggest things is that it'll act as a catalyst in the area to create broader development and create the amenities in the community that this community so desperately needs. I wanted to keep my comments brief on this because we're just wanted to introduce this topic. We're in the planning process of this. There's a lot of water that needs to go over the dam yet in terms of our budgets, the amounts, what all these things are going to cost, and what the TIF district is going to look like. But conceptually, that's what we're looking at right now.
Thanks, Mike. Eric, can you go to the site plan? Thank you. Really, at this point, I guess I'd like to open it up to questions and answers. As I mentioned, we've got our whole team with us tonight. We're happy to address any concerns, questions, issues. Yes? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Before they have to leave, I just wanted to acknowledge the presence of Senator Harman, who is here, and Representative Lilly as we go into our question part meeting, and Alderman Sposato, who is sitting over on the other side.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
What's the proposal for what vacancy happening with the First Street North?
When you say proposal, we're not proposing any changes to the street or the right-of-way at all. The important thing for us, of course, is we will have a landscape buffer along that entire area. Yes, sir.
Well, I have a similar question, but that's for Neva, the north-south street, where the buses usually go down Levantia, and then they turn down Neva to go back out on North Avenue. It looks like this plan seems to block off Neva and close it off.
We would not have anything blocking off this, this communication between the roads. We're trying to digest exactly what the best way is to serve the community for that road and its development. And on the one hand, if it's a public street and stays in there one way as it is, it's harder for people to get in and out of these various parking lots. On the other hand, you know, as a drive-by, they might not provide enough, you know, thoroughfare for people. So we have not done a traffic study yet, but we'll have one done, and we'll try to get some answers at that point. Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious why you chose to put Mariano's back from North Avenue. One of my concerns about this design is that having parking right on North Avenue kind of could detract from the liveliness of the street, if you will. And I wondered if you thought about having the Mariano's right on North and Harlem and then parking back, like much like the Sears is now. I know the Sears is there, and that's probably
Yeah. No, thank you. We have thought about it, and we're still working on that as an alternative. We haven't zeroed in on anything firmly. There's pros and cons in a situation like this to each alternative, and we got to kind of balance those out. And we welcome your input, quite frankly, to that question in particular. Yes?
What's the one Bank of America and Starbucks?
There will be nothing that changes there. They're not a part of the project at all. Yes, in the back.
What is the small building that is right at the corner of the house? What is that intended to be?
Right now, we're leaving that open as either commercial, restaurant, bank, retail. We have, quite frankly, we've spent no time marketing it at all.
Given that location, I mean, it is the most prominent corner on the site. It seems like that needs to be a more deliberate design. Because that's what's calling you in to come into this site at all. The rest of it, you know, it's parking.
I think it's a great point. It's the focal point of the project. I think it's a terrific, terrific comment. Yes, sir.
Do you have any estimation of the time frame between securing your negotiating with TIF and possibly having some life as well?
In our ideal world, we would start construction anywhere between 13 and 17 months from now. It'll take that long to go through all of the processes. From that standpoint, from that point on, I can't give you an approximation. I just know it's going to be a longer than typical construction period to sequence that Sears store, then the Mariano. So we haven't worked through that part yet. Yes, sir.
I believe, Jack, you're a representative for Mariano, you're an attorney. I'm the lawyer for the whole project. Project, not the Mariano, like, there was some here, including Mariano. Okay, so one thing I didn't understand was the concept that there is an agreement between Sears and Mariano at this moment, because the rumors have been flying in the community and everything, so,
We've been in this business a long time, and we have found the risk reward is get way down the tracks with the development, have all the agreements in place and everything understood, and then bring the public in, and then they feel like they weren't a part of the process. We're starting this process right now, early, with your input, and we are working with, and Mariano's is pursuing with us the opportunity to get this project done. Yes, ma'am.
Wanted to know, would there be any signage or advertisement to let people know that you're going to be at that corner or the location? Would that have to be done?
There will certainly be building signage, and then to the extent allowed under the code or allowed by staff, we would hope to have a small monument sign or some kind of sign out by the street, generally is the hope. But we have not studied the code far enough to know what we're going to be allowed, quite frankly. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you don't have control over the site, west, on the other side of Harlem. But has there been any conversations with the planning department in terms of incorporating that site into a master plan?
You're talking about the auto center on the west side of the site?
Yeah, Walgreens
It's a different community, and so we've not considered it as a part of the program or the development at all.
compared to your other stores, how large will this, what will, is this a typical size store, and how will it compare to your other stores that are already up?
Mariano's has a variety of store sizes, but they generally range between 65,000 and 75,000 square feet. So this would be right in that midpoint of that area. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. Would any of this information be on a website eventually?
Oh, yeah, eventually we'll think of ways to make sure that it's communicated appropriately, yes, including on a website or some other means of communication, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Have you thought about traffic patterns around the site? Because even now, it's really challenging just to get in and out, just the Sears. There's not that much traffic really going in and out.
No, I know what you mean. On North Avenue, you have a median, you have one median cut really right in that neighborhood there, so we want to keep that entrance point. And then, of course, we have entrance points off of Harlem, which doesn't have a median, but it does have a painted median. And so we brought in, working on bringing in a traffic consultant that can help us work with this traffic pattern. We're going to have to go through all the approvals with CDOT, IDOT, you name it. I mean, it'll be a lengthy process.
Again, based on other stores that you guys have already developed, can you kind of extrapolate what the economic impact may be with respect to this area of this store?
I do not have that information for you. I can tell you that publicly, Mariano's has indicated their average store volume is about $50 million a year. That's in their public. Their average store is around $50 million a year. As for additional economic impact, I don't have that.
We've run some very high-level numbers on the economic impact, and from a job perspective, this will look to create about 200 to 250 full-time equivalent temporary construction jobs, and about 150 to 250 full-time equivalent retail jobs. In terms of municipal sales tax, we're estimating right now, given the fluidity of the site plan, that it'll produce $600,000 to $800,000 in annual city sales tax alone, as well as all the qualitative benefits that we talked about earlier, acting as a catalyst to the community and everything else, which is somewhat unquantifiable, but will ultimately turn into dollars for the city.
Thank you. Yes, sir. We have the truck docks here facing south, and the idea will be, however they get into the site, they will be facing this way, and also the dock itself will block noise for people to the north. So, yeah, and again, we haven't done a traffic study to see how they will work. We felt it was just important that the docks not face north, or that they not face east, towards the residential.
This is a pretty good residential area.
Yep.
And with the traffic that already exists, running down northbound off Harlem, how about when we look at studies, how it can impact those particular blocks, like the first four blocks?
Absolutely. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do it.
Block off the access, cars can't scoot north.
We have to do a complete traffic study so that we can study all of the interactions between the various traffic movements. That's the extent of what we'll have to provide, and then work through how that impacts our site plan.
Just to add to that, as part of the plan development process, as Steve indicated, we're required to have a traffic engineer do a traffic study, which will be done. But in addition to taking the information that we give them in our traffic study, CDOT does their own traffic analysis. So before a plan development can go to the Plan Commission, the Chicago Department of Transportation must sign off on our whole traffic plan. And that means how it impacts our project, how it impacts the neighboring properties, how the trucks come in and out. That all has to be reviewed and approved and becomes part of the CDOT plan. So before we go to the Plan Commission, there's a big traffic plan that has to be stamped off by CDOT. before it will ever be heard by the Plan Commission. So the input that the Alderman gives us, of course, on her traffic concerns, as well as the questions that we get from the community, as well as all the input we'll be receiving to see that, all is taken into account and becomes part of what's approved by the plan development process.
I want to add something to that as well. With all of the success of the previous Mariano stores, a lot of consideration has been given into traffic fees. So we're building on some of what has happened before with the traffic for the previous stores, allowing for a little more space, parking space, and that's, so all that's being taken in consideration with this concept as well.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
many floors is the Sears going to be?
Pardon me, I'm
How
sorry.
many floors is the Sears going to be? How tall?
It'll be a single story.
Oh, one.
Yes. Both stores will be single story.
No basement.
No basement that I'm aware of. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Corner here, that's the Sears store that I'm looking at. Yes. No, the Sears store.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right here.
Yep.
My house is just across the street. That's Wabansia?
No, this is Nordic Club. So I'm sorry.
Right, Wabansia would be,
Up on top.
Well, Nancy's on the north.
right, okay, the north. So the other area, that's the parking lot on the other side?
Yes, this will be
Similar
parking.
to how it's structured now, except the store's gonna be on this side, parking lot's gonna be on the other side?
Correct, and what will be different, well, the parking lot now and the parking lot in the future, significant landscape buffer will be created.
So what I'm concerned about, the back of Sears, is the back of Sears gonna be right there at Wabansia? The
No.
rear, the rear.
This is the Sears, the back of the Sears will be at the alley between the Sears and the Bank of America site. This will be the back of Sears, the front will face north.
Front is going to be facing what street?
Wabansia.
Oh,
Yep. Yes, sir.
facing.
Yep.
There is a Dominick's on North Avenue. Mariano's purchased that particular site.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Fresh time about that. Fresh time.
What's the street to the east? What's the eastern boundary?
This,
The buffer.
this is Nordica.
It's an
Oh,
alley.
that's an alley.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
the alley.
yes, yeah.
That's an alley.
What happened to those houses that are in the one in the parking lot?
Pardon me?
What happened to the houses? Are you gonna be up against those houses that were built?
Yeah.
Before when they tore down Galewood Ghetto?
Right. This is a parking lot here now, and it'll be a parking lot in the future, but we're gonna have a landscape.
Where are those homes?
They're still there.
They're still there.
They're still there.
They're still there.
So that row of homes is right.
Can you mention alley between them and the homes there?
There's an alley down here. I think right here, there's not an alley down there. Right, that's line. And again, just to stress, this is a concept plan subject to revisions, improvements, etc. But it's a place to start in understanding social relationships to the streets and to our residents and neighbors.
Sears Auto just stay where they are.
Sears Auto will stay right where they are.
No changes.
No changes. There's a structure in place for it. There's probably not open to discussion at this point as to how that's all going to shake out. Again, it's still so early in the project.
You've got site A and site B, I guess, where Jack was talking about
Yeah,
before.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Sears will retain ownership of this site for sure, where their store is. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
You mentioned how many, the size of the Marriott might be.
Yep.
The size of the new Sears. What is it compared to the old Sears? Present Sears, with their multi-stories and basement.
I think
You're
the
gonna single floor, you cut down on it.
Yeah, it's a great building of was it 4 floors, and 240,000 square feet. It's very inefficient. This would be a much smaller, more efficient, more practical solution for retail. And quite frankly, it's how retail is done today. We're also available up here at the front if you prefer not to raise your hand in front of the crowd. For questions and answers, we'll be here for a couple minutes at least. So, or if you think of anything you want to raise with us, Eric will have his cards and phone number. He ran the projector tonight. He's really the moving force behind all this. Anything else? Anybody? Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us tonight. Really appreciate it very much. Really looking forward to this project.
So a lot of time has gone into, a lot of conversation is going on around North Avenue. And as we move forward, we will be back with elevations as we get closer as to what it will actually look like. So each phase, each step we get to, we'll bring it back to you so you'll see exactly what we're going to be submitting and try to get all of those questions answered as we get a more realistic picture of what this is going to look like. We've done a walkability study down North Avenue on both sides of the street. So we've been working alongside Oak Park and the city. We had a study going on. We are working with IDOT and CDOT, the Department of Transportation, studying from Harlem, I believe, all the way down to Central. And so we're looking forward to the possibilities of this being a jumpstart for North Avenue going east. So this is just the right kind of momentum that we needed going into the new season of all of this. So we're really excited about what's happening. The potential of a TIF going down North Avenue will be so sorely needed for the businesses there. I've spoken to a lot of business owners there who, they're not quite blighted businesses, but there is not a TIF that exists today that will support them to enhance their business as it is today. So the potential of having a TIF down Harlem and down North Avenue is exciting to the business owners there to really brighten up the area. And we're also in talks with Oak Park as well, so we will look like we're working on this project together to affect change on North Avenue together. So we're excited about the potential of where we're going, and as we said before, this is a concept plan. We're at the very ground stages of where we're trying to go. And we wanted to start bringing these designs to you because before we get to the plan development and stuff like that, we have to get input from you guys. So this is where we're starting from. How many people like what we see so far? That's really good to hear because we want to do it where everybody's happy with it. And again, as I said before, based on some of the previous Mariano's traffic and that sort of thing. So we've learned from some of the previous sites on how to get better on these sites moving forward. So we look forward to us getting together a little bit more. We're going to try to work a little further down the plan, and we should have some more information. So I think that is what we're most comfortable with sharing tonight, because again, this project is still very much fluid, and things are still moving a little bit, but we're comfortable enough today to make this announcement to come forward to start this dialogue. So thank the team again for coming out tonight and getting our minds around this particular project. Let's give them a round of applause. That kind of concluded our agenda on tonight, so I didn't want to kind of go into moving around. I think that was enough energy for the room on tonight to move into other areas. And again, the guys will be here tonight to answer your questions. If you have any additional questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Have they decided what they're going to do with the Walgreens that they closed on Mobile and North Avenue?
We've been talking quite a bit about.
Was it a gentleman's club?
Oh.
That's what I read.
No, I don't know who's putting out those rumors, but we're not gonna have a gentleman's club on North Avenue. We're not gonna have a liquor store, we're not gonna have all of that negativity. So don't believe the hype. It's just, yeah. But let's talk about that really briefly. So we've had some conversations around the Walgreens. We did bring Walgreens out to talk to us about what was taking place there at the location. We've had a lot of dialogue around it. One of the suggestions that came forward was downzoning the Walgreens so that we'll have a little more say and control over the type of business that would move in there. So now, the zoning slips my mind what it is now, but we were thinking of zoning it to an R1. That would give us a little more say as to who moves in. We have not quite downzoned it yet. We put it on the deferral. There's going to be a meeting that takes place between the small community group and Walgreens to talk about what it is that we're trying to do. Walgreens had made a commitment to help find a store for that particular location. So with that commitment on the table, we wanted to really have some dialogue with them about what we were doing with the R1 zoning. We don't want to tie their hands and make them walk away from the table and not search for a store, but we also wanted to make sure we had some say in the store. Sometimes it's a strategy to use, but we also don't want to run away business as well. Because whenever we downzone something, that means in order for a business to open up, he has to spend a little money to change his zoning back to the appropriate use of the type of business. So with that being in mind, is what we were going to do was talk to Walgreens and a number of folks to get a consensus and where we were trying to go. One of the other things that came up with that site is that we know that the Gilroy community is very anxious to have a library. Yeah. So there's a lot of dialogue. I'm excited about the potential and the meetings that have been going on around the topic of the library. We're currently looking at the existing Sayre Park, the potential of putting an extended building on the existing building. We are looking at the potential of the Walgreens store. So, but one of the things that people have stepped back a little bit about the Walgreens store is just making sure that the community has the best access to the store, but to the library. But putting the library on North Avenue kind of opens up the use, in which we were really trying to focus there being a Gilroy library. So we're taking all of those concerns into consideration. There has been a number of meetings, and Tom has really worked really hard alongside me to get some information, propose some potential sites for the library, and the Walgreens was certainly one of the potential uses for that library as well. So we're still under heavy consideration. As I said before, I did defer the R1 rezoning, and the reason, again, as I stated, that we were thinking about the R1 rezone was to have a little more say. But we want to throw all those rumors out about Gentlemen's Club and all that crap. It's not something that, yes?
I believe you did put in a liquor moratorium on that parcel, right?
Absolutely, I did. So yeah, there's a liquor moratorium there, so no liquor store can go in there. There's a moratorium on packaged goods altogether down the entire street, so there's no worry there with that at all either. So we try to quiet a lot of those concerns so that we would all be on the same page as we move forward trying to scout for a store. But again, with the potential of this site being developed on North Avenue, gives that Walgreens a new breath of life. I'm telling you, it gives it a new lease on life. As a matter of fact, all of the business down North Avenue, it's a great piece for folks to upgrade their current businesses by using the spiffs and that sort of thing, all those things that could come out of having a tip there. Okay? All right. So without further ado, hope we've got all the questions answered around this project and around North Avenue 1 tonight. And again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And these guys will be here for a little bit to answer any of your questions, should there be any left amongst us tonight. Victoria, we'll have a closing prayer from her.
I know you were talking, you're the one that asked about the parking, the recess.
I asked about the siting of the Marianos. So ordinarily, with urban development,
Right.
if you want a lively street, of course you want people walking on the street, coming in and out, you know, and having basically mainly a parking lot on the corner would not be as good for North Avenue as having a Mariano's right there. I mean, imagine people, it also could be better for Mariano's because there's so much traffic going by on North Avenue. They're going to be much more visible if they're right on North Avenue. It could be good for them too. The development challenge is tearing down the old Sears and getting it all sequenced. But in terms of having a lively North Avenue and maximizing the catalyst that Mariano's could be, it would be better for it to be right on North Avenue. If you get my, makes sense, doesn't it?
Right.
I mean, imagine you get off the bus.
Make it a lot more walkable. Yeah.
Exactly. You make it more walkable.
Now, isn't
exactly.
that, from my understanding, doesn't that cut against certain zoning regulations in most areas? Because I know in, which is where I live in Maywood, I think your parking is, you're required to have so many spaces of parking. You're required to be so far from the sidewalk, which is why it's hard to sort of get that kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better, sort of mainstream vibe with new development. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if that kind of, are those restrictions in place here?
I don't know, but what I do know is if it's a planned development, it has its own rules, right? That's why they have to go through the zoning process. So to the extent I'm involved in this, I will do my best to lobby for having the Mariano's right there on North Avenue.
Is that sort of, is that consistent with you guys' whole development philosophy, or do you guys approach this from a particular standpoint?
Well, what we really want is a North Avenue that meets the needs of the residents that live on either side. What we have now is not that for the most part. Lots of wonderful businesses on North Avenue, but we have a lot of vacancies, and we also have a lot of businesses that are not the sort of businesses we, the residents, would actually patronize. We have 5 pawn shops. We have several currency exchanges, payday loan shops, cash for gold, this kind of stuff. They're
That's
interested.
mainly Elmore Park, right? Or
No. It's North Avenue between Harlem and Austin, which is where I'm focusing. Or my organization's focusing. And we want a North Avenue that has businesses that we want to patronize. And we want a North Avenue that doesn't look run down. Right now, as you've noticed, it doesn't quite run down. It's been neglected by both Oak Park and the city for a long time. So we're very excited about this, and we're very excited about having a TIF. And we hope we can get Oak Park excited too.
Why are you excited about the TIF?
Because it'll help bring in positive development. And as Alderman Graham said, new development is going to be easier on the western end. And so what she wants to do, and which makes a lot of sense, is then take that momentum and move them east. Makes a lot of sense. The further east you get, the more incentives you probably need.
Right.
But as you know, with development, this is going to be some kind of
I'm trying to think of a nicer way to put this. Please don't quote me. But businesses are a little bit like lemmings. They kind of move together. Having a whole bunch of things happen, then all of a sudden people are, okay, well then I'll be right next to that. So
snowball effect.
Snowball effect, exactly. That's better than lemmings. Use that, please. I don't want to be insulting the businesses. I don't mean to suggest that they're stupid. Just that they move together.
Right.
And that's why developers like Continental, they know, okay, if we have a big site, we know kind of who likes to be near each other. Because they benefit from each other's foot traffic or drive.
Let me give you my card. I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
So I just took over Oak Park for West just like a week and a half ago. So still kind of getting the lay of the land there because I was out in the tri-states.
Oh, I'm so glad you had a chance to meet you in person.
Great. Here, let me.
You mind if I talk to you? Sure. What's your name on with the Austin Weekly?
Hey, Lee Owens.
How do you feel about that?
Hey, nothing. Can't say anything bad about it. I mean, what we end up in the same spot, gain 2 more businesses, and Mariano's and whatever the one on the corner is. I think they've done a good job. I mean, some of the things that the residents are concerned about always, because with North Avenue, there isn't a buffer, so to speak, so they're making a buffer with the landscaping and everything else like that. That's a big thing for the residents. Not losing any residential property, and not losing any streets or anything else like that. And they're looking ahead as far as, where the trucks are, because that's always been a problem, with the grocery store. Trucks coming in late at night or taking up space or coming down the alley, that kind of thing. They thought about that. If they do their work on the traffic study, that'll help. That's great. And, you have something like that there. I mean, North Avenue, people look what else is down North Avenue as far as my group is concerned, In other words, well, gosh, there's some restaurants there, there's some other businesses there, that kind of thing. And that'll help them grow. And then hopefully just a domino effect will go from Harlem all the way down to Austin. People see the businesses, and then those businesses will thrive, a new one will come in, and that kind of thing, and so forth. That's what we're trying to do.
And do you own a business in that area?
No, I work out of my home office.
Okay. But you live in the area?
Mm-hmm.
You used to work for the fire department?
So,
you think that it'll be sort of a catalyst for more development in that area that Alderman Graham was talking about?
Well, yeah, especially if you get the TIF there, the opportunity's there, of course it's got to be done right and everything else like that, so, but, there could be another chain or anchors or something like that, that we can get. Because it's hard getting businesses in areas and stuff like that. There's a lot of competition for them and stuff like that. So, or if our businesses can get some kind of help, some of them out there, if they can get a little help as far as, with their buildings, tearing them down and building them up or that kind of thing, and again, it's the whole domino effect. Starts at Harlem and works its way down to Austin. Where, around Austin and around that area needs help, needs development, needs good things, needs, to improve the image, that kind of thing, and this could be the beginning of a domino process with that.
I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Take care.
Mike.
All right, Mike. You got a card?
You know what? I'm going to give it away my last one. Check.
Okay, now you got my card, got my email address and everything else like that. We got a website, North Avenue Business Association.
Okay. It's on your card?
Yeah, well, it's not on that card, but the website is easy, NorthAvenueBusinessAssociation.com. So, I'm going to post a little something about this, but, it tells you all about us and everything else like that and what we try to do and everything else like that.
Thanks so much.
No problem, man. Former journalist myself, 30 years in TV news.
Feedback, residential feedback on the proposed development, how you guys feel about it?
I think it's great.
You
He's a smart
What's
man.
the best aspect of it that you like?
Well, we like the Mariano stores. We shop at them now, and the closest one to us is in Norwich. So we live on Neva, so it'd be 4 blocks away from us. And it's I don't know if you're familiar with the store. It's very nice.
Yeah.
You can go there and have lunch. We like it.
What's your name? What's your name?
Larry Campbell.
CAMPBEL.
Distribution of the tools.
Any concerns or challenges that you saw with traffic?
The only thing I'm worried about is how the traffic will be affected.
They sent me and him an email. I have to go collect.
Right now, North Avenue is kind of, it's really congested around here. And you put a Mariano's and a Sears there. I don't know what we're in store for.
Your car, you drive over to the yard.
Oh, I got it.
You give me your driver's license. You give me your driver's license.
It's my
sign your name.